LBRY is dead, and that's a clickbait title, and the thumbnail was clickbait as well. I'm really sorry about that.
Silence, you fool!
But I do want to talk about how awesome LBRY is and the changes that are actually taking place here very soon. Okay, so I've been wanting to make a video on LBRY and why I think LBRY is awesome, and I just haven't gotten around to making that video yet. And as it turns out today, there was an article posted on Odyssey.com, the end of LBRY TV and the future of LBRY on the web. So for anybody who's not familiar with LBRY, LBRY is a decentralized video protocol, and the front end for it was LBRY.TV. I should say still is LBRY.TV. It's not gone yet, but they're migrating to Odyssey.com. It's basically a competitor for YouTube, if you want to use competitor in the loosest of terms. I think that it has been the biggest competition for YouTube to date. I don't think that it's really anything that's going to knock YouTube off its perch as the video hosting king anytime soon, but these things grow, and basically having an alternative to YouTube, I believe, is a good thing. So it's kind of a big confusing mess. What I really like about LBRY is that it's a great place for new creators to have a voice for their platform, whereas it can be very difficult for YouTube to it can be very difficult for a new creator to get a foothold on YouTube against people who are already established and who have entrenched themselves in YouTube and have been there for years. LBRY is more of a chance for a new creator right out of the gates to really start making money. For one, they don't have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. They can start earning money right away. It's not much money, and it's in a cryptocurrency, LBC, that you would then have to basically like trade up for fiat. And there's a whole system on LBRY/Odyssey that you can use what you earn to promote what you put out. So I'm not going to get into that, but I also like that basically as a viewer you can earn LBC, and you can use that to tip the creators who are making the content as well. It's all a lot more than what I want to get into in this video, but basically it is a way for people to earn. Some people are completely against crypto still in this day and age, but I believe crypto has established itself as an actual currency that is going to be more and more mainstream in the coming years, and I think people really need to get on board with it sooner rather than later. Anyway, there is a method to cash out your LBC and turn it into US dollars or Japanese yen or whatever money that you would want to spend, but I'm not going to go over that in this video. There's plenty of content out there showing people how to do that, but I really do like that it is a more, I guess, democratic system as far as like how users are paid, even though they're not paid as much as far as like I don't make near as much on LBRY as I do on YouTube, but I see the potential there. Another thing that I really like about LBRY is that you can sync your content with your YouTube account, and it will just automatically pull in your videos from YouTube, anything that you've already got uploaded and anything that you will upload in the future will sync with your channel. And it's actually William at Thrifty AV who told me about that, so shout out to him. Head over, give him a sub and some likes. Good dude over there. So I would recommend to any new content creator who is on YouTube, who is exclusively uploading to YouTube and who wants to become a YouTube creator, I would recommend syncing your channel with LBRY and putting your stuff over there as well, because there's really nothing to it. You're getting your work put out in two different places for no extra effort, really. So it's one of those things where I think that people need to get away from the idea of being a YouTube content creator and just become a content creator. Like, I'm trying to get out of the habit of saying, I'm making this video for my YouTube audience. I'm making this video for my audience. My audience exists on YouTube and in LBRY, and I see the potential for real growth on LBRY in the coming years. So as of this recording, Odysee.com is completely ad-free, and it's where I prefer consuming content if the content is available. So I would actually prefer to watch somebody that I follow on YouTube on Odysee if their content is actually there. And I realize that to a lot of people, it's a gigantic pain to go over to Odysee and look somebody up to find out if they're there or not, only to find out that they're not there. So I use a plugin for Chrome-based browsers. It's basically View on LBRY, and in the configuration for the plugin, you've got the option to set whether you would want to go watch it on LBRY.tv or Odysee.com. And basically, if you're watching a content creator on YouTube, and if their content exists on LBRY, basically you've got the option. It puts a button directly underneath their content saying View on Odysee, and it will take you out of YouTube, and you can watch the content there on Odysee if you prefer. And I think we're going to see a lot more creators starting to show up on Odysee in the future, and we're seeing a lot of big creators pop up there now, but I think in the future it's going to just be like an avalanche of creators that are going to start popping up on Odysee. So I'm going to put a link to that plugin in the description, and if you want to use it, it only works on desktop-based browsers at this point, and I don't even know how it would be implemented into a mobile system, but I'm at my desk all day and I consume most of my YouTube content in a desktop environment anyway, and I think a lot of my audience, being techies, you're kind of the same way. So if you want that link, the plugin, that link is going to be in the description so you can get it, and it makes life a lot easier for finding content and finding people to follow on Odysee, especially if you're already following them on YouTube. So a lot of people have wanted a platform other than YouTube to post their content to, and in the past few years, it seems like every few months there has been a new creator gripe for people to complain about YouTube is treating the creators unfairly for this or for that, and there's not really been any place where people can go that has a realistic prospect for their content to be viewed by an audience that's going to grow. I mean, there's BitChute. That's been a thing for a while, but BitChute has been a reactionary thing. I feel like BitChute, at a glance, your average everyday person is going to look at this and say, this is just right-wing nuts. And I have my problems with YouTube as far as like how YouTube does tend to pander to more left side politics, but I think a mirrored reaction to the craziness on YouTube on BitChute is not the answer to that, and it's not a good way to draw in your mainstream viewer. Now, personally, I think a lot of the content on LBRY is right-leaning. A lot of the news and political content is definitely more right-leaning, but it's not as just complete nutso crazy as what you're going to find on BitChute. And there is left-leaning content on LBRY, but again, I think it comes down to there is the option for left-leaning people to go and post their content on LBRY. It's just still a growing platform, and nobody's saying, hey, if you're left-leaning, you can't put your content over here. And I like that. I like that, it's a free platform where everybody can put their voice out and put their opinion out. And one of the things I've tried not to do on my channel is I've tried not to really give much of a political opinion one way or the other, unless there is some kind of political issue that deals with tech, like shadow banning and things like that. But politics is something that I really generally try not to get into, but I'm not a fan of the like cancel culture, and I'm not a fan of the people being shadow banned because maybe they're putting out an idea that YouTube doesn't agree with. And so far it seems that LBRY is that place where people can have that voice, where it's not so crazy as like what BitChute is. One of the announcements that was in the article was that LBRY is going to become less decentralized. I'm just going to read the article so that we can cover all the points in it. And basically the article is The End of LBRY.TV and the Future of Library on the Web. LBRY.TV will be retired this summer. New accounts on LBRY TV will be disabled soon, with users encouraged to create accounts on Odyssey.com. Now, so I have I created my account on LBRY, and then I found Odyssey and went to create an account there, and as it turns out, the account had already existed, so I guess it just gets carried over to Odyssey. Maybe in the past, I guess the way this is worded, you may need to create a new account on Odyssey going forward. I don't know. Why LBRY.TV is ending. Reason number one, it confuses people about what LBRY is. Many people continue to think that LBRY.TV is LBRY. This could not be further from the truth. LBRY is a decentralized protocol, not a platform, similar to SMTP or Bitcoin. LBRY.TV is a website that interacts with the protocol, similar to Gmail or Coinbase. So, yeah, basically, this is something that, so Odyssey is powered by LBRY. You could have other websites down the road that are also powered by LBRY, powered by the LBRY protocol. LBRY.TV has been the front end for the LBRY protocol to date, and recently you've got Odyssey.com coming out, and Odyssey is now just a different front end for consuming LBRY content, if that makes any sense. And as far as the confusion goes, I would like to also add that I've added this banner to a lot of my videos, and you'll see that there's the LBRY icon on one side, the Odyssey icon on the other, and I've had to explain to a lot of people when I've tried to get them on the LBRY and Odyssey platforms that I've had to explain that LBRY and LBRY.TV and Odyssey.com are essentially the same thing. They're just two different front ends for the same services, and it looks like that has changed now. But in my experience, when I signed up for LBRY and then tried to migrate to Odyssey, the migration was already done. I didn't really have to do anything to find my content on Odyssey. I just signed in, and it was like, oh, well, that's a nice surprise. There it is. Reason number two, Odyssey is a more user-friendly product. New users return to Odyssey at a rate much higher than LBRY.TV. Since January, users return to Odyssey at a rate of approximately 60% more than LBRY.TV. By pushing more new users to Odyssey, a lot more people will end up using LBRY, the LBRY protocol. This is good for everyone. Yeah, I agree with this. The Odyssey is a much smoother, slicker, more enjoyable interface than LBRY.TV, and this is where you do want to kind of put all of your eggs in one basket if you're going to compete with a giant like YouTube. You don't want people being confused about LBRY.TV and Odyssey.com and having the experience that I had where they've gone over to check out this new service and find out it's the same thing, or not wanting to get invested in another new service. It's like, I'm already on LBRY, I don't want to check out Odyssey, or vice versa. If they're the same thing, if they're doing the same thing, focus on one product, promote that one product. It's not worth it to push one or the other, or simultaneously. It's just kind of dumb. And I can say from experience that Odyssey is the far superior product. It's the one that I prefer using. It's the more enjoyable user experience, and I almost never go to LBRY.TV anymore. There's no point in it. Reason number three, creators like Odyssey more. Both via direct conversation and through revealed preferences, creators have let us know that they like Odyssey more. They feel more comfortable linking and sharing Odyssey than they do LBRY.TV. Again, this is absolutely true. I actually prefer Odyssey for a lot of reasons that I already covered, but LBRY.TV, the website, felt sort of incomplete. It felt sort of, I guess, uninspired. I don't really know how to put it, but it just felt like a very generic product, whereas Odyssey, the user interface, it feels like you're using an actual piece of competition against YouTube, if that makes any sense. Reason number 4, improved search performances. Splitting traffic across 2 websites reduces the performance both in search. By unifying under a single domain, it will perform better, helping content be more easily discovered. And yeah, I can see that. Again, it's like I said, when you're doing this kind of thing, you do want to put all of your eggs in one basket. Why LBRY TV is not ending tomorrow. We promised we wouldn't drop LBRY.TV so long as there were major differences between LBRY.TV and Odyssey.com. Right now, differences include the ability to stake content. This will be renamed Boosting when it's added to Odyssey. Tag handling and homepage customization via tags. Advanced searching and search filters. How non-video content is handled. How adult content is handled. We expect to resolve most of the differences before retiring LBRY.TV. The trickiest one has been adult content, so we're letting you know now that it's possible adult content will only be available via LBRY, desktop, and other peer-to-peer clients. If you want to be guaranteed an experience as close to LBRY.TV as possible, we recommend checking out LBRY Desktop. So based on that paragraph, it seems to me that they're going to be getting rid of LBRY TV and taking the best of what it has to offer and integrating that into Odyssey.com, barring adult content. They're going to be getting rid of adult content on the Odyssey front end. You'll still be able to look at it if you so choose on the LBRY desktop app, but if you're looking to be a mainstream platform, it just makes sense from a business point of view that you're not going to have adult content discoverable on your website. And, you know, it seems just like a good business move to me that you're not going to be hosting adult content on your primary website. On Android and iOS, LBRY Android is currently a mix of decentralized and centralized. When Odyssey is released for Android, we will continue to maintain LBRY Android. LBRY Android will become fully decentralized, while Odyssey will rely on some centralized services. The unfortunate reality is that there will be trade-offs between decentralization and performance. We do not expect to release LBRY on iOS at this time because it is a closed ecosystem that is unlikely to tolerate users having the amount of personal choice that LBRY apps allow. So that's an interesting point about the decentralization versus centralization. And as much as I do love decentralization, as much as I do love the freedom that decentralization brings to a user, to a creator, to a programmer, to a whatever, you can't argue that with a centralized business model, there is innovation that springs forth from that. Sometimes it's a money machine that drives innovation, and as much as people want to gripe about Microsoft and Google being the monsters that they are, and I'm not going to argue that, there are plenty of arguments that have merit that they are not ethical companies. The money machine that drives innovation, a lot of innovation has come from Microsoft, Apple, Google, Amazon, Facebook, YouTube, all of these giant companies that have money behind them. If you want to compete with those kinds of companies, it's most likely that you're going to have to use the same kind of tactics and the same kind of, it says here that LBRY is not going to be available for iOS because of the kind of because of the kind of decentralization that the users want. If I were looking at this from a business point of view, I would definitely want my apps on both platforms. Maybe I'm wrong, but again, I'm looking at this from a business point of view, from a competing with YouTube point of view. And Odyssey is not a competition for YouTube, I think, at this point in time, but they are growing. And if you think about the nature of the growth of tech, MySpace was at one point the biggest social media network in the world, and Facebook came along and knocked them off their perch. A lot of people believe that it's inconceivable that YouTube could be replaced by a competitor in the future at any point, but as we've seen, the nature of tech is to change, and the things that were once the biggest, maybe YouTube has run its course, and maybe it's time for something better to come along and become the next YouTube. I can only speculate, and only time will tell. But I know that up to this point, a lot of creators have complained about the unfair practices that they face with YouTube and having another place to go. Maybe this is finally that straw that broke the camel's back. Now, I'm not saying that, something should be created for these creators to have their platform. I believe that it's up to people to take action to solve their own problems, but this is finally maybe one of those tools that could be used for leverage to get treated a little bit more fairly. Just some ideas. And the final point in this article, what is changing tomorrow and what you should do. The ability to create new accounts on LBRY.TV will go away shortly. New users will be directed to Odyssey.com to create accounts. Additionally, open.LBRY.com links will be redirected to Odyssey.com instead of LBRY.TV. If you're a creator, we're encouraging you to stop linking LBRY.TV and link Odyssey.com instead. When LBRY.TV is eventually retired, links to LBRY.TV will be redirected to Odyssey.com, so old links will not break. In general, unless your audience is particularly tech or blockchain savvy, we encourage you to simply talk about Odyssey and not mention LBRY unless it's directly relevant. Thank you. No, thank you, LBRY, because I'm sick of explaining to people that LBRY.TV and Odyssey.com are essentially the same thing, and if you get on one platform, you're going to be on both, and it's a giant pain in the ass to basically explain yet differentiate between the two. Streamlining and going to Odyssey.com, you got my vote. I'm all for it. But let me know in the comments what you think. I'm going to end this video now. As always, the best way you can support this channel or any small creator is to interact with the content. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. That's it for now, and I'll see you next time.